Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I'm excited for the individual I have on. He and I have just recently connected from my brother-in-law, Ed Milet. He did some business with Mike and wanted me to have him on a show because he's not only a dad, he's a phenomenal dad, but he's wrote a book and we're going to talk about it. But I'm really excited to have him on. I'm excited to get to know him a little bit more. My good friend Mike Davidson's joined me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Nice to be here. I'm glad you're here. I'm looking forward to this. I know you and I have chatted a little bit over the last couple weeks, but hey, let's cut right into it. We're both dads, and I want to know a little bit more about you, kind of how your journey, how you've gone through your life, and kind of where you are now, and then we're
Okay.
gonna dive into your family as well. So tell me a little bit about you.
Okay. Currently 41 years old. Married to literally my best friend, Sarah Davidson, who, I say, hey, you want to go fishing this weekend? I'm talking to my wife, not my buddy, So she's literally
That's
my best
awesome.
friend. And we have the good fortune of having a lifestyle that revolves around saltwater fishing that really includes the whole family. And I've reflected on that a lot because there's not a lot of parallels to that where you can go out and do something and venture out into the world and encompass so many things that entail a life well lived and do it with everybody. You
Right.
know, you think about the guys who have golf as a hobby, you're probably not taking your wife. You might be able to take your oldest when they get to a certain age, but it's more of a solo thing and it's not a family thing. And there's a lot of hobbies like that. So we're just very fortunate that this happens to be something that includes the whole family. But anyways, my oldest son, Cale, is 12. I have a middle son, Noah, who's 10, and my youngest son is Brody, 9, all boys. And we're in the thick of it right now. Like super heavy. Um, yeah, I thought it was a little bit ironic that I got an invite to be on your podcast because every day feels like some of the most challenging of my dad life so far. I'm like, oh, this is good timing. I hope they're not looking for me to be an example. But
That's awesome.
I work in the car business. I've been in the car business for over a decade. Sat in all the seats on the sales side, and my wife has been a stay-at-home mom with the kids up until about 9 months ago, and she's actually a med device rep for spinal implants now. So that's been an
Hmm.
adjustment to not have her around. We got a lot of things going on,
Hmm.
but uh, life is good.
Yeah, you
What
just
else you
rec
want to know?
you just recently wrote a book. I know. What's the title of it? Tell me a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so the book's title is Earn Your Seat, and I published it August of 23. So it's been out for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Um, never intended to write a book. That was not on the radar at all. I don't like telling people what to do. I don't like talking a lot, even though I do that a lot for my job. Um, I had a couple buddies. I had a great experience. Here, let me circle back. I'm going to try and make this effective but brief. Um,
Take your time, man.
5.5, 6 years ago, my wife and I were doing a lot better. The kids were starting to get of an age where we could kind of get out and do things. And, my wife wanted a bigger house, and the market had already started doing what we now know, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this prices have gone up quite a bit. Maybe we should wait it out, which that strategy didn't pay off. But, um, we wanted to buy a boat. I'm like, why don't we buy a boat? And so we agreed. That was one of the things we wanted to do. That was one of our goals for the family, which is now, what our life revolves around. So we decided to buy a boat. Well, if you haven't looked at the price of boats lately, that's not something that you just walk in and buy the next weekend.
Right.
They're expensive. They require a lot of cash up front. And so we had to set up a plan, like, how are we going to do this? And we had about $40,000 in consumer debt. And I'm like, well, that's got to go. I'm not buying a boat if I've got anything on a credit card. And, um, I said, well, if we're going to buy a boat, I got to get in shape. So I had these three goals. We were going to buy a boat, we were going to pay off our consumer debt, and I need to get back in shape. And we set a timeline to do that in about 6 months. And so throughout that process, when I decided that I wanted to get back in shape, I didn't want to go on a diet. I'm not a cardio guy. I know you were doing a 19-mile run when
Right.
you and I met. You would leave me in the dust. I'd be laying on the side dead over here. So I wanted to do something that I could do for the rest of my life. Like it needed to fit, right? I'm a dad. I have a career. Life is about as demanding as it could possibly get on my time right now. And I don't want to be the guy who's neglecting his family or his work or something else so that he can go spend 2 hours in the gym every day type of thing, you know?
Right.
And I also wanted to enjoy my food. And I'm a drinker, so I didn't want to quit drinking. And I figured out how to incorporate all these things. You know, my exercise routine's about 45 minutes twice a week. I don't do anything other than walk as far as a cardio perspective. I really just try to get my steps in throughout the day and incorporate it into whatever I'm doing. I eat everything under the sun, like nothing's off limits, but obviously curtail the things that are causing the problems, which that's a long story right there. But I did it in a way that was comfortable. And I, at 40 years old, I was sub 10 body fat and I was drinking alcohol every day, loving my food. And I'm like, this is what people are looking for. You know, I have abs at the age of 40.
Right.
I'm not suffering. I had a ton of major health improvements from it. And I wanted to share it with the world. You know, I was kind of like overflowing with joy that, hey, this is something that a lot of people are looking for right now. That doesn't require a pill or supplementation or anything. I don't take any supplements. And so I sat down to write bullet points for success. There was no book. I just had buddies around me that wanted to know what I was doing. And I'm like, well, here's what I'll do. I'll sit down and I'll give you the things to focus on. I can't do it for you, right? But I can give you the focal points to inspire what needs to happen around that to be successful. And that ended up in a nine month long writing about health and fitness, nutrition and fitness. And about 9 months into that, what I thought was going to be 2 weeks, right?
Right.
I realized that it was just a giant dumpster fire. It was
Hmm.
bad.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, too much of my enthusiasm is bleeding into this, right? It just doesn't come off well. And besides all the information that I've included in here, you know, it's important, but we all have access to it if you really want to. Like you can find it. So what's the point? And so I kind of sat back because, you know, 30 days into the writing, I had determined whatever this is, I'm going to finish it. 9 months later, I hit this roadblock where I'm like, okay, this isn't it, but I'm going to finish it. And so I said, well, why do I want to? Like, why am I successful right now? Because anybody can do it. I'm not special.
Hmm.
Why am I successful when so many people are struggling? And so I circled back and reflected on everything that it took to get me to the point to do these things. And it was all right here.
Hmm.
And so what it turned into was, you know, my story about how I've arrived at the decisions that I've made, why I want to do it, things that have inspired me throughout my life, you know, stories that embody those things that kind of represent why. And it's very introspective. It pushes people to be open-minded, mindful, like just really to wake up every day and understand who you are. That, you know, the one thing that has been very important to me that I've learned, the more I know, the less I know.
Hmm.
The smarter I get, the less I know. You know, every time I get to another level, it broadens your horizon to the bigger picture, and you realize,
Hmm.
man, I really don't know jack in the grand scheme of things,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And that's been a beautiful thing for me from a decision making perspective because I question everything,
Right.
right? And I do it in a constructive way, but it allows me to avoid a lot of the things that we put blinders on for, you know. And it's it's a deep dive. It's a book, so you know I would love to explain everything to you. But basically, what I did was I started over and I wrote that. That's earn your seat. The earn your seat is it's a moment in time in my life that I had on a couch. And basically, it was the realization that I didn't want to be on the couch anymore.
Mm.
And that the amount of time that I was spending on the couch drinking beer, eating Doritos, and watching TV needed to be spent somewhere else, living my life, doing what needed to be done, or just out with my family, having a good time.
Hmm.
And that the only time I ever wanted to sit on a couch was at the end of the day when I had maxed my life out, lived it to the best of my abilities. And when I sat down, I knew at that moment I earned it.
Mm.
So I shared that story with my sales team years ago now. And my top sales guy wasn't there. And he came into the store later that day and he goes, "Whoa, what'd you guys have a meeting about? I've never seen everybody in such a good mood. I must have missed the best sales meeting ever." So, the realization that it had such a profound impact on the people that worked with me was the reason that I titled the book after it and shared that story. So, anyways, the original piece, the 9 months that I spent, I curtailed that into one chapter, which was what I originally set out to do, Bullet Points for Success. That's chapter 37, the last chapter of the book. And that is nuts and bolts of anybody who wants to have just a solid foundation of where to begin. It's by all means not all inclusive, but if you focus on those things and you embrace a lifetime of learning and, pursuing gaining a better understanding and moving the needle, then it'll take you where you want to go successfully.
Mm. That's great. I definitely have to check out that book. I appreciate you sharing that. So it's not a book about, um, I guess it could be, but it's not a book about necessarily getting into shape. It's a book about really improving your life
Yeah.
and trying to be a little bit better every single day and earning your seat in the respect of I did what like you said, I maxed out my day. Now I've earned this privilege or I've earned this reward of being able to chill on the couch in the evening time and watch a little TV to just kind of decompress. Knowing that you went to the max throughout the day and did everything you had to do, got everything done that you needed to get done, and now you get to reap the rewards of relaxing later in the evening. That's just taking it day by day. So
Yep.
that's really really what it's about, and that's great. I mean, I try to do that myself. As a dad in particular, I try to live my life every single day, maxing out my time with my boys in every area that I could, whether it was coaching in sports, whether it was being there at their school functions, whether it was going on field trips with them, whether it was simply doing stuff around the house, even if it was like if I had to fix something, I fix stuff around the house, do things around the house. If I had to do that and I knew one of my boys was, sitting down watching TV, I'd grab him and say, "Hey, let me teach you something, help you." So yeah, I've done those things. And now I get to reap the rewards of watching them do it themselves. My younger son, uh, just a couple weeks ago, his light fixture in his bathroom was going. He wanted to replace it. He wanted to get a different one. He went down to Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever it was he went, and picked out his own light fixture and goes, "Dad, I want to do it myself." And so I said, "Okay." Now I sat back and I watched him do it, but just to make sure he's doing it
Sure.
right. But he wanted to do it himself, and that's because he's seen me do it. So that was me maxing out my time. I get to watch him kind of learn from what I've done and live through it, and it's awesome. So good for you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Excuse me. So what was the impact of your book as far as when you wrote it? I know that you're going through it and doing research and going off of experiences and going off other people's experiences to write your book, but what did you learn from it? What did it teach you about fatherhood? And in what ways did it maybe inspire you to be a better dad for your boys?
Yeah, that's a good question. Writing that book was really the first time I sat down to write anything. And I told you I wrote for 9 months and then flushed it and started over. So
Mhm.
the entire process, all the way to being published in August of 23, like a true irony, the print date of my first copy is actually sitting under this phone that I'm talking to you on right now, is literally 3 years to the date from the day that I started writing. And the reason I know that is because I would email it to myself every day. So I had the first email. And so the experience of writing has really made me a huge proponent of encouraging other people to write, because you really, I guess I've described it like this in the past. Daily life is kind of chaotic. There's just a lot of things going on, and we're taking a lot of things in. We're not taking a lot of things in,
Hmm.
but we're not, in the midst of the day, you're really not reflecting on anything, right? So you may learn, like you can learn, you can learn, you can learn, you can learn. And human beings work on pattern recognition, right? So the more we do something, the more we glean from it, that picture just gets clearer and clearer. And, neuroplasticity, we develop better motor function and responsiveness and things like that. But the writing down of something takes it to another level, because it captures it on paper,
Hmm.
and then it allows you to come back to it. Ed and I talked about this. It was funny because he was talking to me about podcasts, and how he kind of goes back and looks through things and then reconfigures them. And I said, yeah, well, I did the same thing right in the book. You capture it on paper. This is the thought, right? And then you kind of go back to it and you reorganize it. And as you reorganize it, it inspires new thought, because it's a different perspective.
Hmm.
And when you do that enough, you really paint a tremendous picture of clarity that you never will have if you don't do that. And so, as it reflects, or as it relates to parenthood, I would say the biggest thing that it did for me as a father was really um, solidify what we've decided to do with our family and how we've decided to live our lifestyle. And my wife and I are both on the same page, that we incorporate, a lot of the lessons through that. And we find our time there, because unlike you, it sounds like you've had a lot more availability to be with your kids than I did.
Hmm.
I have not been that fortunate. It's gotten much better over the years, but my son, my oldest son, when he was 3 years old, this is like one of those gut punches you see in a movie that I was just blown away when he said it. But I was leaving for work, and he was with my wife at the front door saying goodbye to me. And he said, Mommy, Mommy, when do we get to go to Daddy's house? Because he thought I didn't live there,
Oh,
because he
wow.
was just, that's how little he saw me at the time. Tremendously better now. And I'm an early riser. Part of earning my seat is, by the time I leave for the day, I've already accomplished more than my old self had accomplished in multiple days, right? And so breakfast is my thing, because a lot of times I'm not home for dinner. So I cook everybody breakfast. This morning, for example, my oldest son has to get up at 5:45. So I cook him breakfast in the morning. We hang out for a little bit. He runs off, catches the bus. Then I cook my wife and I breakfast. I eat mine. Some of your guys might hate me for this, but she gets breakfast and coffee in bed every day. And then my two youngest, I wake them up right after I give her breakfast, and I cook them breakfast, and we hang out for a little bit once they're ready. And so I kind of get my 30 minutes a day with everybody, one at a time, before I leave, instead of at the end of the day, which frankly, I don't know, that might be better, because nobody's worn down and stressed out yet. We're all fresh. We woke up. But it's been a good thing. And it's been something I've been doing now for probably 6.5 years. And it'll just continue. It's part of the lifestyle now. It's just automatic.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's one of the things that you've learned just in the process of writing that book, obviously, is that, hey, little moments like that. Yeah. Maybe 5 years ago, before you wrote this book, uh, you didn't really think of those opportunities as, those moments that you get to have with your family. You were just going through life, you were doing it, but writing that book helped you realize, hey, it's little moments like this, even if it's that 30 minutes, 40 minutes, it's these little moments that are worth it. And you make this little bit of sacrifice. The sacrifice that you made, Mike, was just getting up a little bit earlier so that way you could start your day and get their day started. And that's your time with them, because, working in the car business, obviously you have no idea when you're going to get home. So it could go well into the night. Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, I've said this a lot on my show. Kids spell love, Time. not LOVE. So the time that you spend with your kids, the fact that your 3-year-old son said, "When do we get to go to daddy's house?" That I think it would have been that day that he said that I would have went, "I'm not working anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go tell the boss that I'm out and I'll figure something else out, but I'll be back. So stay tight, hang tight. I'll be back in 10 minutes." And I would have left and come back. I'd have been like, "I'm out of a job, but I get to spend time with my boy." So yeah, that would have gut punched me as well. I can't imagine having that. I did have, working in corporate America, I did have times where it was tough because I coached my boys, every single team that they've been on all the way up through high school. I coached their teams. And working in corporate America, it was hard for me. There were times where, I had to leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to go to a game that was, out of town somewhere. And what I did, kind of like what you did, I sacrificed my sleep. I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going into the office. Everybody else got to the office at 8:30. I was getting up and going
Yep.
into the office at 4 o'clock. And it was that quiet time that I could get some stuff done. That way, while I was at the office, I was giving 100% of my time at the office. But then at 2 o'clock, when I had to leave, no one was questioning me because I gave
Right.
100% at the office. And now I'm going to go give 100% to my boys and my family. So I was never questioned. So I did have the opportunity to spend a lot of time, but I also made the sacrifices to do it. So that's the spot where I earned my seat, right? Those are the times where I said, "Listen, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I could
Yep.
get my work done and be there for my family. So now I get to reap the rewards at the end where my boys are in their 20s and they're two of my best friends. And yes, we do go out and go golfing and stuff like that together because that's what we love to do together. And they're two of my best friends. And so that was me earning my seat. Some dads out there might, there's a lot of dads, I would say, that when they run a business or they own their own business, they're spending 80 hours a week in that business and have no idea what's going on at the home. Mom is,
Hmm.
stay-at-home mom taking care of the kids, taking care of the house, and dad is away. And even special events, maybe not even so much special, but maybe their boy or their son or their daughter's playing in a sporting event. And I've used this example too, where your son makes the very first 3-pointer he's ever made in his life at his basketball game, and you weren't there because you were so busy focusing on your business, you missed it. And it's times like that that crush you, right? It's times like that that you go, "Dang it. I mean, did I really need to be at the office today? Did I really need to be here doing this? I just missed my son making his very first 3-pointer." You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I just heard my son tell me, "When do we get to go to your house?" Those kinds of things, it's like, would crush me, as a dad. And that's why I was so committed to it. And obviously you kind of got that gut punch and helped you to kind of turn your life around as far as being involved with your boys. And now you've got a son that's about to hit the teenage years, and you and I were talking about it before. You've already bypassed 70% of the time that you're going to be able to spend with him until he's an adult. Obviously, but you already bypassed that because he's already 12 years old. Now that he's a teenager, the last thing he wants to do, Mike, is hang out with you.
Right.
He wants to be independent. He's trying to figure out who he is. He's trying to form his identity now. And dad wants to hang out with him. And he's like, "Yeah, I have no interest in hanging out with you, dad. I want to go be with the guys. I want to go be with my friends. I want to go do this." That's normal, as somebody
Yep.
who's gone through it, that's normal. And you can ask Ed this, somebody who's gone through it, it's normal. What I would tell you is cherish the things that you guys enjoy together, like your saltwater fishing. You guys enjoy that together. Cherish those moments, even if they're once a month. Cherish those moments. Make sure you're constantly there for him when he needs you. Be talking to him as much as possible. And trust me, if you continue to build that relationship with him, even in those times when he's going through these teenage years where they're challenging and his hormones are changing and he just doesn't want to be around you and just wants to just be left alone. If you do the things that I just told you to do, I promise you, when he's about 18, 19, 20 years old, he's going to come back and
Yep.
he's going to be one of your best buds. So just hang tight because I promise you it happens. It happened with my boys. As involved as I was in Blake and Brett's life, as involved as I was, they did not want to hang out with me. They did not.
Yep.
I
Yep.
I could remember taking them to Home Depot or Lowe's when they were 5, 6, 7 years old. They always wanted to go with me. And then when they
Yep.
hit 13, it's like, yeah, I have no interest in going to Home Depot with you, Dad. Sorry, dude. It ain't happening. So
Yeah.
just hang tight it gets better. Um, Let me ask you this before I let you go. But when it comes to your relationship with your wife, I mean, here you are, you're in the car business, which I know in the banking industry where I worked, it is one of the areas that I worked in was the auto industry. I had about 75 dealerships that ran auto paper through me. And so I know all about the ins and outs of the auto business when it comes to the finance side. Um,
Hmm.
and I know, having a relationship with those dealerships, I know that they do work these insane hours. And sometimes you can get a customer that walks in 20 minutes before you guys close and they want to buy a
Hmm.
car. Guess what? You're not going anywhere because you want to
That's
get
right.
that sale, number one. And number two, you got to make sure that everything gets completed and is done. So it's not like you can
Yep.
say, all right, yeah, we'll get you this, we'll do this paperwork and when you come back tomorrow, we'll take care of it. No, it gets done. Um,
Yep.
and so that leads into you not being around not only for your kids, but for your wife. How has that relationship been since you've written the book? How has that relationship grown or developed over the years? I know you guys have the saltwater stuff that you guys like to do together, but how has that relationship grown since you've done the book?
Well, I've as time's gone on, I've carved more and more time out from work. My career's grown. I've gotten into positions that allow me to be a little more flexible with my time, and I can maneuver my schedule to be a little more family friendly. And so I've kind of carved out more and more personal time as I've advanced through my career. Obviously, getting up in the morning has been huge.
Right.
I'll make a late start every once in a while. Late starts before my wife took this new career. Late starts, that was our time in the morning after the kids went to school that we got to spend time together. She works a surgery schedule, so it's not consistent. So, like this morning, she and I shot out and went to the gym this morning. And as soon as I got back, we went for a 3 mile walk. And, we get to have our conversations there. I would say the biggest key for us is communication. We talk all the time, even when we're not around. We talk about the kids, what's going on. Hey, she'll send me a text or she'll shoot me an email we got from the teacher. Hey, this is what's going on in school. Will you call Brody? So, thanks to technology, I can be involved with things when I'm not there as well. And then we make sure to carve out our time. And when I say carve out our time, we actually do it with everybody. So she and I always make sure we have at least one-on-one date a month. We actually do that with the kids too.
Mhm.
So she and I take them out individually. Three was the game changer for us. Like looking back now, like we thought two was hard. No, three is the game changer. My wife's father's one of five. His mother said, once you have three, you can have as many as you want. It's on at that point. And I agree with that. But when you take them out of that dynamic, I always think of them as just little balls of energy that are interacting. When you take them out of that dynamic and you separate them by themselves, it's a totally different person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's just a lot more clarity and a lot more connection. And that's been a tremendous thing. That's always, she and I will put 10 goals on paper every year that we want to do every year. That's always one to maintain our one-on-ones that everybody has a one-on-one once a month. And so, we just, within the midst of a very busy, crazy life, we make it happen. You have to make time, even if it's at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And I'm going to get up at 4:50 the next day.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Number one, communication is huge, obviously, but the fact that you guys carve out time for each other and make sure that happens, that's a non-negotiable. My wife and I
Mhm.
do the same thing. It's something that we just non-negotiable for us. We just make sure that we do a couple a month, but make sure that we have a couple of those date nights a month. And we're a little bit more flexible now that the boys are kind of off on their own. But yeah, we
Sure.
do that a couple times a month. And I take my wife she's a school teacher. I take her to work every single morning, do that with her. And so that's our time to kind of sit there and chit chat. And then we do our normal, we'll go on walks and stuff like that as well. So, but the one thing that we do is we have a licensed therapist. She's a licensed therapist. She's our marriage coach. And we see her every couple months and just to make sure that our marriage is staying on point. And
Hmm.
that's something else that we do together that we really enjoy. And That's good. I mean, you guys making sure that you guys are carving out that time not only is important for you guys, but it sends a loud message to your boys, very loud message to your boys that this is how you cultivate, this is how you uh, cultivate that relationship with another partner, and showing them that is showing them how not only a man treats a woman, but a woman treats a man. When they see those kinds of relationship, that kind of dynamic going on between you and your wife, they're going to learn that stuff as they start to get older and start to get into their own relationships. When they start hitting their 20s and they're dating or even getting married, they're going to see how mom and dad treated each other over the years. And so it's important for you and your wife to continue to do that and show them through your example what it means to have a healthy relationship in a home. And that way your boys can learn from it and utilize that and grow into their own lives together as well. That's really
Sure.
good. That's really good. Um, Mike, if my listeners or viewers wanted to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, where's the best place for them to do that? And then obviously, if they wanted to get the book, best place for them to do that as well.
So the easiest place to get the book is Amazon or Barnes and Noble. There's a bunch of other stores that have picked it up online, so you can order it electronically. Um, to find me, MikeDavidsonLand.com. So my first and last name, land, like I used to work in the land business, so MikeDavidsonLand.com. And that's actually my Instagram handle as well, Mike Davidson Land. And I actually created the Instagram when we bought the boat to share the lifestyle that we live on the boat. So most of it's boat stuff. I said it in the year of the boat on there, and that's just kind of little glimpses into me earning my seat the best way possible. Is
That's awesome.
making the most of a day that everybody's together and nobody else has an obligation, and we go do it. So I share a little bit of the stuff in the kitchen, and I think I mentioned to you in the little bio that my kids are all great cooks because our lifestyle is full circle. We wake up early, we live on the water, we stop at the sandbar, let the kids explore the tide pools, have a good time, see the world, and then come back, clean the boat, clean our catch, and then everybody gathers in the kitchen and we gather around and we cook dinner together.
That's awesome.
And it's just a tremendous family event. And my kids are all excellent cooks. With this new career my wife has, my 12-year-old is actually, once or twice a week now, he's in charge of cooking dinner.
Oh, that's
And he
cool.
does a great job. It's amazing how good it is. I come home like, wow, you cooked this. I'm gonna retire now. You're up.
That's
So
awesome, man. That's awesome.
yeah.
You still have the same boat?
Yeah, I do. We're actually we're probably gonna upgrade it
I was gonna
because
say, when's the upgrade coming?
it's coming soon probably. So the boat I have now has a single engine on it, and we're gravitating more towards offshore. We like offshore fishing, and I'll comfortably run about 40 miles offshore in this boat on a regular basis. But up here in St. Augustine, you've got to run about 60 to get to the ledge. And that's where the wahoo fishing and the mahi and sailfish and things like that really become more abundant.
Hmm,
Blackfin tuna. And for that, you need a twin engine boat with a bigger fuel tank. So
hmm.
uh, we might go with a triple engine boat. There's extra maintenance. The insurance is more expensive, but we're poking around. We're in the hunt.
All right. Well, if I'm ever in that area, I'm gonna hit you up so we could go fishing.
Absolutely. Be happy to have you anytime. You let me know.
All right, man. Well, listen, Mike, it's been great having you on, man. I'm glad we got a chance to meet. I'm glad I got a chance to know each other. I'm looking forward to continuing this friendship, and I wish you all the best, not only in fishing but in the car business. I know the car business is hard sometimes and it's tough, but you guys stick it out. You guys do a good job, so keep that up, and obviously continue to cultivate, just kind of massage that relationship with your boys and your wife, because you guys are right in the thick of it. Like you said, you're right in the thick of it. And this is the time that you really need to just kind of cherish the moments that you have. Because as I said, when your older son gets those teenage years, the last thing he wants to do is hang out with you guys. He wants to live his life. So just continue to do what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you, and good luck with the book. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you being on, sharing it. I'm going to definitely pick it up. I'm probably going to pick up one for my son too. He likes to read those types of books, self-development, self-help kind of books. And so I'm probably going to pick one up for him as well. But thank you for being on, man.
Awesome.
It's really, really good to meet you.
Yeah, my pleasure, Brian. I appreciate you having me on. Really enjoyed it. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Listen, guys, it's been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend, Mr. Mike Davidson, for being on the show. Make sure you guys check out his book. Make sure you guys check out his website and his Instagram. All that stuff's in the show notes below. You can click the links in the show notes and get it there. I highly recommend it. Really, really good dude. Make sure you guys are following him. And if you are not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up.